Hello. Thank you for having me here today, Jodi. My name is Refael. I'm the founder and CEO behind a startup company called Letos. Letos is a startup company working in the field of behavioral sciences with applications to predict basic human behaviors or expressions, such as comfort or discomfort, stress levels, and this is being done inside our outmost natural surrounding. So that can be inside and the comfort of our home, if we are at the office or while we commute between these two places.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah.
How are you?
Doing great.
Wait, were you done with were you done with the pitch? Were you still going?
No, I was done.
Good. This is good. Because I was like, I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt you. I have a fan going, and so my hair is going to be like moving. All right, so you didn't talk about where you are. Because you are a traveling, so Refael and I have known each other for a couple of years. You are at any given time, I never know where you are. And even with the pandemic, I don't know where you are currently. So where are you?
So I was born and raised here in Israel. I was for a brief period of time, over a little over 18 months, I was in Berlin, Germany, based with this startup, got the initial funding there. And,
no. You're fast forwarding. You're like going from gaps to gaps. All right. So you're in Israel right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So let's just rewind the clocks and let's just find out because we can know about your business, but we need to know about who you are. So we're gonna rewind all the way. Who were you, like little Refael? Like who were you? What was your schooling like? What was your family life like? And then eventually we'll get to the business.
Okay. Family like. I can start with how I saw the initial entrepreneurship in my life. And that is originally with my parents. They're both immigrants into Israel. And to me, that was the most frightening activity that a person can actually take part in. So this what actually provided me like the push forward.
They're immigrants from where?
From Georgia.
And so how is it? Okay, so I can already tell you're gonna make me work for this. You're gonna make me work for this. All right, so this is gonna be a full-on discussion. There's not just you like just talking.
I'm not taking a lot of interviews.
Like, no, this is not an interview. This is a conversation. I'm now curious. Okay, so your parents are from Georgia. Were you born yet? I mean, when they came in, were you guys in their lives yet, or did they come by themselves to Israel?
No, they came here in their early teens.
Okay.
So my mother at 12 and my father at 14.
Okay, with their families.
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know. I didn't want to assume that they got married when they were young, so I didn't want to assume. So they came here. So you say they came to Israel. What were their thoughts? Because I mean, as teenagers, you have your friends, you have your culture, and then you're coming into a new location. And Israel, of all locations, where the world watches Israel. It's the smallest country in the world, and yet everyone watches Israel. What was their thought process like, and where did that? You said that the entrepreneurship came from them for you. So what was that link? What happened that it started to spin into action for you to start thinking, I'm going to be an entrepreneur for life?
Yeah, so this actually started when I was around the 8th grade, where I was still in school. So I'm doing this kind of like heritage research work about my parents or like the descendants for the family, and then to see what was life like there, and what was the decision behind them, like actually moving here, and like leaving everything behind them. And I mean, like literally, they left everything behind. They brought like a small suitcase, and that was it. And naturally, I had like a lot of questions, like, weren't you scared to go through this process? And what they had is they had faith and belief that they're going into somewhere which will be like a better life for them and for their offsprings. So in that case, lucky me.
So when you were younger, what kind of kid were you?
I was a bit Nordish. I was a lot more like a more introvert in my behavior, and that's something that I actually had to like work through through my early 20s when I wanted to push forward full time, pursuing like a small business partnership and entrepreneurship in general.
So wait, so you started when you were younger, but I mean, was it, so you watched your parents, they were pretty much your guide, like, I mean, so you have you have siblings?
Yes, two older than me and one younger brother.
So there's four of you. So your parents, like, all right, again, I'm rewinding. Parents immigrated from Georgia to Israel. They have four children. Are all of you entrepreneurs?
No, actually, I'm the first one.
You're the third one, though. You're the third child. You're the first one.
I'm the first one to pursue entrepreneurship. I mean, everyone is talking about this, like at family dinners, like family gatherings. I have this idea, I have that idea. I was the first one, like, to actually to pick up and go with it.
What do they think?
Really supportive, to be honest. Although I came to realize in retrospect, a few years in, that actually my mother was a little bit against this in general. And my older brother was the one to actually to convey her to say, this is like for the better for him. He will like transcend with his career forward, like to take like huge leaps. And yeah, so that was like something which was like really surprising to me in person.
So I'm first generation first generation born in America. So I always say I was conceived in Haiti, and I was like, my mother was 8.5 months pregnant when she came to America. And I always laugh because, I mean, doctor, lawyer, engineer are the only three jobs that they're like, we're coming to America for the American dream, doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I'm like, I'm not any of those. I'm not any of those. And they always worried in regards of like, her personality is so large. She travels all over the place. She can make friends with anyone. We were afraid that she was going to get kidnapped, because I would just talk to everyone. So I really it just fell into like, being an entrepreneur for me is out of necessity, not by desire, but because I always worked for companies, but I was an entrepreneur. So I got to create my own thing inside these businesses. My parents never, I mean, like, look, my dad died 6 years ago, and they still just never still understood what I did. She's happy, she's making money. She doesn't look like she's like suffering. So she's doing her thing. For you, your mother was not happy, but were there expectations of what you guys had to do when you were younger? So if they came to Israel for the Israeli dream, were there expectations of what you had to do as a family, and what do the other siblings do?
So this actually came from my mother, extended family. Most of her, not siblings, but like more extended family, like cousins, and like the likes, they all became doctors. So naturally, she tried for like for us to also become like doctors, and I was actually in pre-med, taking like evening classes when I was around the age of 13, taking evening classes for 2 years. And that was like quite an experience. And the reason why I eventually didn't went through it eventually is the first sight I had we inside like a surgery room to see this like from the outside, to see the whole experience there. The sight of like seeing blood for the first time was not a pleasant experience for me personally. So I decided like to stop.
Did you get a little queasy? Did you get a little sick to your stomach?
It was, yeah, you can say that.
It literally isn't for everybody. But I always say, like, I on my bucket list is to massage a human heart one day. That's on my bucket list. And so it's not for everybody. I mean, I don't want to be in the medical field, but that's one thing where I'm fascinated, and I think it's so intriguing. So what was it that, I mean, other than the queasiness, I mean, was it something that, were you going in to be a surgeon? Were you going into, what specialty were you what specialty were you thinking of going into while you were in it still?
So my mother is a nurse. She used to be started in pediatrician, the pediatrician clinic, and then moved on to be like an ENT, like the ear, nose, throat professional. And I wasn't aiming for like for a specific part. I was just like seeing like maybe this can be something that um, I can like make use of to help other people around me.
Mhm.
And I wasn't aiming like for a specific professional. So this was like some kind of like a general education that they provided for everyone inside this classroom.
Mhm.
So all came from like a little before high school time to go and attend those kind of like classes as kind of like a general enrichment to the education for the people there.
What did your what did you end up getting your degree in?
Electrical engineering.
Okay, so now I'm like, all right, you're in pre-med, but then you end up electrical. How did that happen?
So this part then came in from my father's side.
Okay.
He wanted to have for us for the three males in the family to have an actual like an actual living what we can do as a job after when we graduate from school, finish up with the whole process that's usually here in Israel like school, high school, army, like undergrads, and then like going into the workforce. So he wanted to have like this kind of like actual experience like with your bare hands to like to do stuff as an like electrician and to do just kind of like general repairments.
Okay. So you basically did the whole entire doctor, lawyer, engineer that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, so I'm trying to connect this, but I'm like still gonna figure out. So remind me again, what kind of engineer are you?
Electrical and electronics.
Okay, electrical
So
and electronics. But wait, pause. So now give me the gap here. Are you in school and then you go to the military? Are you in work, then you go to military? Where did it, because like as many people know, in Israel, you have to, everyone's gone through the military unless there's like a circumstance that you can't, but everyone goes to the military. And at the same time, Israel is known as innovation nation. And so we're going to get to the innovation part because clearly this is why, like me, this is one of the major reasons why we know each other. But where were you when you went into the military, and how did that play into your career?
So I took a different path than 95% of the people. Even like 99% of Israel is here. So I went into the first year of my undergrads when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
So that means doing the comparable version of like the LSAT that we're doing here in Israel. So that was like in my 16 years, and then went into as a full-time student when I was 17, and then like 18, and then pursuing that while doing the military service in parallel.
How is it even? How is it? Because I mean, Israel is always in war. So you're always in war. How is it that you're able to do both military and school at the same time? Because don't you have to be somewhere? I mean, and active duty?
Yeah, so not everyone are qualified to go inside as to be like an active war troop or like troopers, like the people who support the war troopers out there. I was doing like, which is the route I was taking. I was like identified as a more like a technical person.
Okay.
And to go with the technical activities. So that usually means not staying there Sunday to Thursday to come back. Like during the weekends, I was basically coming back every day back home.
Okay. Okay. How was that in regards to? Because I mean, because I was that kid that my parents weren't sure where and what the direction was, because I was just like, again, party central. They're like, my dad says, like, why don't you go into the military? I'm like, I don't want someone to yell at me. I have no desire for that. Like, that's just not my thing. How was it for you? Because you say you were that nerdy kid. You have a dad's an engineer. You have a mom that's in the medical world. She's a nurse. You're finding your own way in your own space. How was it for you to go in the military? Because, I mean, obviously, it's that whole entire concept of having to go. I mean, having to go to the military is very daunting for me. If I had to, I could survive with no problem. But I don't have the desire to do that. I will always support anyone that's in the military, but I have no desire. I have relatives that are in it. how was it for you? Because you still have to go through what's called boot camp, the training prior.
Yeah.
So how was that for you from knowing that you had to go into it, the anticipation, and then the actual reality of going inside?
Mhm. Yeah, so this is another interesting fact. So I had the initial desire to go as a war troop and to be like at the forefront. And for that, I was signed up for to go into a gym and to work closely with like this kind of like a mentor that can guide me into this process. I was doing that like for 2 years before I made eventually the decision to go ahead and say, okay, I will take a step back and I will focus more on my studies and to improve like my education before and to delay and postpone the initial drafting date.
Yep.
So I was drafted 18 months later. And I was able to complete up until then 50% of my studies towards my undergrads in engineering. And then I basically completed all of that during and by the time I ended, and I was relieved for my duty.
Nice. Wow. Wow. That's like so amazing. Okay. So now is it 2 years or 3 years in the military?
So when I was back 10, 12 years ago, that was 3 years for men and 2 years for women. And now I believe they shortened the period down to 2 years and 6 months for men.
Okay.
And I'm not sure for women. I think it's around 18 months.
Okay. So you're there for 3 years. When you leave, what's the path? I mean, what happens from the time that you leave the military and you graduate from college? What happens next?
Yeah, so in contrary to what happens in the US, because I had the fortunate option to have interns coming from the US to work during the summers in like for my startup here, then they told me about the concept of a gap year. Before you go to college, then you take 6, 8, 10, 12 months and either travel or do some other work or profession that you might want to explore before going out to college or to university. And here in Israel, what we do here is after going for the 3 years for the military service, then either directly or immediately after the day we kind of like depart from the army, we go on a 6 to 12 month trip, either to South America or into the Far East. So from that point, you can see then how the general progression, like what should be like the usual age group for people who attend college for the first time in their life. So that starts around 25 and sometimes go all the way up to 28, 29 years old. The people enlist initially into the undergrad studies here.
So then,
So
again, you're making me work for this conversation. Pulling it. I'm pulling it.
Yeah. So I'm saying so. So when I was in college, I didn't have the experience as people usually go there. I was there when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. And that's not an age where you can go and have the full college experience. So being with people which are like 10 years minimum, like older than me, had at least for me personally, had a different profound experience than people who go through the traditional route. And that like to finish high school, go to the military service, do some 1 to 2 years of work, save up for the the world trip, like 6 months South America, 6 months in the Far East. So this was like a different way for me to say, okay, so my close circle of people that I'm like on daily contact with are not people who are in my age group. These are people who are sometimes married with kids and have different set of priorities in their daily life. And this is something that actually motivated me throughout this process. because there are like every now and then you have one or two people that try to go through this process, but eventually drop out because of the workload that has to go through that.
When did you decide? So now, like, when did you decide to start the business? I mean, and is this your first business?
So from me as a founder, this is my first business. Prior to this business, I took like a more calculated route to start this. I didn't want like a spontaneous, okay, I have a cool idea, let's go with it. I had the first inkling towards entrepreneurship when I was around 15 years old.
Yeah.
We first heard the name Steve Jobs, Apple, and Silicon Valley as a like this kind of like trio that goes together. And I was reading like a lot of those articles. I can recall back and say during my high school years, during the years I was during like evening schools inside university, I was reading a lot about those kind of like articles and like doing like kind of like a daydreaming throughout this process. So I said, okay, so I will take all the steps that I can. So in 5, 10, 12, 15 years time, I can be in a position where I can say, I have this amazing idea, and then I can have all the tool set in my hands, so I can push forward it. So every decision I took to support that was in favor of being in a position where I can be a self-made entrepreneur. So if that means having the right education, so engineering, having the right resume, so have early experience with large tech companies, and then to go ahead and work for smaller companies, smaller startup companies from their ideation stage, and to see that experience unfold from the inside, where you don't have all the risks of the entrepreneur behind them, but still have the ability to at least experience like at least partly from their path and their journey while pursuing that.
What was the hardest thing? I'm so sorry, go ahead.
And then like to go along with that, I tried to be as a technical co-founder with friends of mine that we wanted to play with ideas. So one idea was inside the field of voice assistants. So that was before we had the AirPods that we had in our ears.
Yeah, when I was in the media, they call them IFB. So I don't know if they're still called that, but yeah, you just put them inside, and we were communicating with our co-hosts at all times. As the producer behind the scene, we were constantly communicating with them.
Yeah, so this was the first experience I had to see if we can have a device that can actually listen to you and don't have the kind of like a psychological barrier. If you remember, around the time for like around 2005, you had this kind of like Bluetooth headsets that could look kind of like a weird, and the guy I was working with called that the douchebag effect, where you have that so you can disregard other people while taking conversations inside this earpiece. So he had the vision to come up with the concept that you have this as a jewelry that goes on the external part of your ear, and can still have the same effect for you and only you to hear the conversation, and to allow for other people to approach you and be approachable in general. The second.
No, the second. Go ahead.
Yeah, the second idea was with a friend of my cousin actually, and this was for a consumer electronic device for child growth monitoring, and to see.
Did you say child growth?
Yes.
Okay.
To measure, to have like so you see a lot of that sometimes in kids, where they want to measure their height and they mark that
on the wall.
Right next to, on the wall, and to see and to have like a more fun experience with that. So to have a device that can light up in different lightning, and to show what was the current height, what was from your last time you measured yourself, and then we kind of play with it to see with weight, height, the other parameters, And until of course that kind of like after a few months, like the first one, those kind of like activities, like general ideas, like generally went into a slow decay until we parted ways and left behind that.
Are you still friends?
Um, Not anymore, no.
I want you to sit there and talk to anyone that's listening in regards of when you go into partnership with a friend or a schoolmate, etc. What's the hardest part about going into partnership with someone else?
So this is something that I had the experience to experience that personally. To go into a relationship with like a business relationship with friends, family members,
Mhm.
and even sometimes like complete strangers that you meet at meetups and events before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And what I realized throughout this process is what you can get as values from any kind of like this kind of like business relationship is if the other partner you have with you actually elevates you as an individual. So that means that you are enjoying the conversations, like the daily conversations, and the other partner pushes you to be like a better version of yourself, to better support the business.
Are you I was gonna say, would you go into actually your company right now, do you have a partner or is it just solo?
So right now I'm going solo.
Okay.
And
Is this, I'm so sorry, is this because of the experiences that you've had before, or is it this time around you came up with the idea that this is the way that you want to go, you want to do it by yourself?
so for this one, I went like really hardcore by myself. So even when I was signing up like to different programs, so if it's with BGI in Portugal or with Mass Challenge that's run locally here in Israel, I took very little advantage of the mentors that are being available for the entrepreneurs taking part in the program.
Mhm.
I wanted to try and to see what I can do and where I can fail and where I can succeed,
Mhm.
and to have like the ability to say for myself, you've done that with very little to no help. So I took like really like a longer time than usual for people like to raise their initial like pre-seed funding, to come up with the original like with the first version of the prototype, and to say okay to and then like with every kind of like client provider service provider relationship that goes out there. So I took a lot on myself personally, and to be in a position where I can say, uh, I'm now in a position to say, okay, I can guide other people or other entrepreneurs to go through this process, and to be in a position where at right now. So like a functional prototype, like raising like funding for the project, and like team formation, client, like having the first client, negotiating the deals with the right clients, and to have all of that experiences.
What advice would you give to anyone? I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of people were just scared. They're scared. They're scared. They're graduating from school. They don't know what the world's going to lead. They're getting laid off or fired or furloughed. They are in positions that they just don't enjoy at all. And they realize, now that I'm home, I'm realizing maybe it's time to start something new, to do my own thing. What would you say to someone that is looking to try their own thing? And in your experiences with your past companies and your present company, what are the highs and what are the lows of going into owning your own thing?
So owning your own thing, I will start like from the last question, and then I'll revert back to the previous ones. So owning your own project, your own venture, your own business is, at least in my experience, the like the best I don't know like how to describe that. It's like the most amazing experience that you can see that is comparable. At least some people compare that to a child's birth and to all the process that goes with that.
Mhm.
And I believe that the amount of like gratification that a person can have personally from owning that kind of like a business venture is at the highest level you can be at. Some people enjoy um, their small parts and how they have their role playing inside like corporates.
Mhm.
But there is a lot of like politics that goes like involved into that internally inside the corporate. How to land the projects, how to move into this specific department, how to progress into that specific role. And to me personally, that is a very limited experience for someone who's looking to have a career for himself.
Mhm.
And to go through that route where you can say, uh, I'm going outside and I'm meeting with huge company corporate CEOs and C-level executives and department heads at every big corporate nationality you can find out there, and to have really like a tiptoe like conversation with them.
Mhm.
So this is something that personally, if I revert back to like 10 years ago, me working inside a corporate, you will never have the courage or the guts to speak a level beyond your boss inside the company there.
Mhm.
So this is something that um, have to go then hand in hand with your uh, courage and ruthless into going into this kind of like business activities.
What does your company do that really makes it stand out? And who is your perfect target audience? So what does the company do that really like just blows? The pain point that you wanted to solve, but also who's that perfect client for you?
So what we do is we take like small sensor devices and we attach them to like really non-conventional ways. So instead of like having those kind of like small wearable devices,
Yeah.
and to have this kind of like health monitoring activity to take place, we actually take like a different approach. Instead of like having this general well-being devices, we're looking at a device that can actually monitor the experience level you're having. So this goes like 25, 30 years ago with like market research companies like Nielsen to evaluate how commercials are being evaluated inside like a small target audience. And the way to do that is a really cluttered product and measurement tool that actually, according to my hypothesis, can create a bias level that for this individual at this point in time will have a different show of experience. So we'll have a different facial expression, a different tone of voice, a different like body limb movement that will actually hide some of his like experiences that he's having, like a spontaneous experience, uh, due to the fact that he knows that he's being monitored. So we're looking at the way like to go around that. So that was actually what was for me like the aha moment when I came across like a really unique sensor technology that was for me like kind of like a leap ahead. And because I was working for medical devices companies before, I tried to avoid to fall back into the trap of medical device with all the regulations goes around that. And I was saying, okay, let's go ahead and pursue a consumer experience, a consumer electronics device that can actually be helpful and to have the different approaches for those activities.
Who's the,
So
I was gonna say so who is the client that uses this? I mean, because like you, I have a Fitbit. And it monitors my sleep. It monitors, it's like we know. It monitors when I go running, whether if I'm walking or running, it just checks it in. people with their phones, their iPhones. I mean, everything is monitoring you. That's kind of, I'm always fascinated where everyone's like, I don't want to be watched. I'm like, well, we're being watched. Someone's always watching us because of the mechanisms that we have on us. So with all this competition that's already out there, who becomes your best client?
So this goes with where this can actually be like a good fit in. So because the concept how it's being implemented, it goes into the back of the seat.
It goes to the back of the where?
It goes into the back of the seat. So you attach a
As in
small cube.
Wait, I'm sorry. On like the actual chair.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a wearable device. It's a
Okay.
completely contactless component that provides robust measurements of your body physics. So that is cardiovascular, respiratory systems, and the likes, to have those kind of like insights to what you experience in general.
Okay.
So when we're looking into exploring different kind of like use cases for this technology, then we're looking at quite early on, we looked at the automotive use case, where we can find cars as of today for have this kind of like some autonomous capability to them. So that's in the likes of Tesla or with similar companies to that in Europe. Then there is a component where you're handing over control to the car.
Yep.
But you're by doing so, you're actually detaching your attention and your mindset from watching the road. You're handing over not only the activities in such a manner, you're also handing over the level of the trust you have inside of like the cabin, so the car can like drive itself without dangers, like without hazards.
Right.
But what happened in reality is the driver still needs to have some level of involvement. And once the car finds itself in an environment that it cannot steer away from the danger, then we're looking at ways where we can provide early detection of such behavior, that you're starting like to play with your phone, you're listening to some like cool sound, like to some like nice music.
A situation like that happened in Massachusetts where we had they're testing, MIT is testing out the driverless cars, and someone got hit and got killed, and the driver was, before they realized it was too late. And so it would make sense to actually have a mechanism like yours where, I mean, we're now being alerted. I mean, is it a noise that's going on? Is it a sensation? What's happening to get us to pay attention again?
Yeah, so once we're looking at a general solution like the front-facing camera we have in front of us right now, then this is what I perceive as like a too late activity, because it will only detect once you shift your gaze, once you have the actual falling asleep, with your head in general slouching of your body. Then looking at early predictors, and those are coming from our inner body reactions.
Yep.
So our nervous system, our brain activity, and the resulting effect it has on our physiological parameters. So having those kind of like different insights, and this specific case for semi or partially autonomous cars can only be expanded. So this can be seen as someone who's operating heavy machinery, for example, that requires to have his attention at all times, to someone who's sitting in an airport tower to help guide airplanes out there, and to have the same level of responsibilities that sometimes we have the unfortunate option that our attention can be divided from our main task, which is doing the actual monitoring with our eyes by observing the environment, to secondary activities that deviate away our attention from there.
What happened to you during the pandemic? I mean, obviously we are 16 months into a pandemic that was supposed to end, but it didn't end. So What was it like at the start of it? I mean, because I know you traveled a lot to the point of where are you now?
Mhm. So right before the pandemic hit, I was still stationed in Berlin, Germany,
Mhm.
and I was there for 18 months now. And just before that, I had been traveling to some countries, and early December, I was actually in China at the time.
Mhm.
I always have there from friends and colleagues inside Berlin, like saying, "You were the one to bring that into Europe." Like, I mean, I don't know if I was like the one to blame for that, but I'm saying so. I was there, and then once the pandemic hit, I was on a temporary residence permit,
Mhm.
and I had the nervousness to say, will I be able to extend my residence permit here? Will this be something that will be plausible to take place? And then eventually I decided to go back back to my homeland in Israel, and then to refigure out how I'm like looking to pursue this venture from a distance, away from the current away from the current city where the company is already being established in, and all the business contacts, all the client contacts that I have there, and to see, okay, so what am I doing now to go ahead and pursue those account activities? Because like from my own personal experience, especially inside European countries like Germany, there is a lot of focus on an in-person discussion. There
Mhm.
is a lot of a lot of weight for someone who's arriving in person versus someone who's trying to do this remotely. I was looking at ways to go around that, and to go around that. So what you're looking for is for ways for how people are looking to collaborate without meeting each other. And the main motivator for that is for people who are looking to do joint research projects with them. So you can see that as an example. And then, so having that in mind, then looking back to see, okay, so what is the go-to-market strategy now? And how this fits with an environment that is less prone to accept you as a service provider, and more prone to accept you as a collaborator or like a research partner.
Mhm.
So I was looking to go that and to have different partnerships, to have different use cases, and to explore that as a research activity, and to help support the main business, which is providing this said hardware component along with the analytics tool, and to prove that, okay, so this can have values in this market, and these are the references that now hopefully will get
Mhm.
as publications from those kind of like universities and academic institutes that will provide like the stamp. Okay, so this is done, experimented and approved in to test in this category of people inside this specific environment, and to help promote that in general.
So, so you collaborated a lot during the pandemic, which is really, really good. Your team, how many people do you have on your team?
So right now it is divided across 3 countries. So that's me here in Israel, one member in Germany, and one member right now in the East in China.
Nice. Where does your, very, very briefly, where does your industry go from now? I mean, the pandemic has changed so many different people. I mean, look, whether you're established small business or whether you are a startup, the pandemic has changed everyone's mindsets. There, 2020, 2019, a lot of people did very, very well. 2020, people were excited, and obviously it has just been this constant roller coaster. So very briefly, where does your industry go right now?
So because this is we work in an industry which is right now labeled as remote patient monitoring, and we have like an active proposition inside this field, that this actually provided like a huge boost for us to have to provide access to different tool sets that clinicians, doctors, hospitals across the world can actually make use of without requiring for people to leave the comfort of their home and to be in fear of potentially infecting other people if they're afraid that they have contracted this specific infection or other infections. Then this can be seen as an early tool for observing. Okay, this is now a person that is experiencing some early stage developments for an infectious disease, and we can provide him first of all with like mental support to comfort them from while they're at home, and then to have the actual activities to take place and to do those kind of like real-time assessments. So this can actually provide some really good values into those kind of like markets.
Yes. This is one of those things where I'm always so surprised. Like we're talking, and then before you know it, it's an hour that goes by. I will. This is not our last conversation. I always say like we're gonna constantly bring you back, because there's always ways that I can bring back people from different industries, different cultures, different countries, which is always nice. But we have to end. You have to go. What time is it there right now?
Almost 7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m. Okay, so I mean we're in the afternoon here. So I'm going to ask the last question. If you had a personal ask I'm looking for two answers. If you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask?
So for my professional ask, I will look for other partners out there, literally from any kind of like field. It can be healthcare, marketing, like ad tech, mobility, any field that we can imagine out there that can make use of our offering, and to see because eventually we develop services to support and to interact with people. So because we are not robots, and we have the level of physics where we can say how this person is now reacting to my service or not. If he's prone to continue this interaction, he's being motivated to pursue this. So this is literally we can have those kind of like values there, and I will be glad to be in touch, collaborate, ideate around that for those activities. For my personal ask, I will go with how to like better establish myself when I'm looking to go outside on inside like different countries out there, and to see how we can better interact with different people out there. For now, I've gone to realize that people like to have discussions around food, and with that, I was during the pandemic. I was like a self-made cook for those periods. But any kind of like social hacking, I'm always happy to learn more about those.
I have to say that I love the food part, because I find that you're right. People love having conversations around food, and all these amazing things happen. I've had so many discussions over food, and I didn't know what people did as their profession, because we were so involved with what we were eating, where we were, and what the discussion was at the time, that literally later on in time, after that meal was over, like probably weeks or months or even years later, I found out what the person did. And I'm like, how come I never knew that? And everyone's like, well, we didn't talk about it because we were over, it was over a beautiful meal. So that wasn't a discussion. I'm like, oh, right, that makes sense. So that's a good, I like that one. The whole entire food does bring people together. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Yeah, definitely.
Rafael, I mean, thank you for taking time out of your day. Rafael and I met each other in Portugal 4 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago,
2010.
3 years ago. And whenever I need you, you are like, I mean, like he comes and saves the day. Like he teaches me about all these, I mean, he's, I mean, again, like the little nerd, the nerd part of him is so amazing because he learns so many technical things that he teaches me that I don't know. And so I love that I can pick up the phone and, or just like literally go and email like, hey, do you have time for me? And you always say yes, whether it's for my interns, whether it's for me, whether it's just for my business, you are awesome. And I will always, always, always support you in everything that you're doing. So, and it took me forever to get you on because you're like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. I'm busy. And like, what am I going to say? And I'm like, I go, you know what? I wanted you to, I wanted you to be here because you have been a serial entrepreneur for so many years. And I look at you, you have a baby face, you're young, but this is who you are. And you always want to find ways to improve society. And I will always make sure that I find ways to promote you and promote how you do that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, hashtag paid forward.
Oh, so what?
I'm saying hashtag paid forward.
Oh my God, hashtag pay it forward. Yes, hashtag
Yeah.
pay it forward. I love it. All right, my friend, have a wonderful day and we'll have a wonderful night. And thank you so very much.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me today.
All right, bye.
Bye.